I turned my boyfriend into a meme to impress a new coworker. Now my apartment is empty. I'm standing in the middle of our living room, but it's not our living room anymore. It's just mine. The silence is the first thing that hits you. It's not just quiet, it's a humming, oppressive void. Half of the furniture is gone. Auguste's worn-out armchair, the one with the permanent indent of his body, is missing, leaving a pale, dust-free square on the hardwood floor. The bookshelf is weirdly spacious. All his sci-fi paperbacks vanished, leaving my romance novels looking lonely and foolish. His PlayStation, the ugly abstract print we bought together after arguing for an hour in the gallery, even his stupid, cork coaster, he insisted on using on the coffee table, all gone. The wall where the print hung is now a glaringly clean rectangle, a scar of blank paint. The air smells sterile, like lemon-scented bleach, a smell I know he hates. He must have bought it specially. He didn't just pack, he scrubbed. He erased every trace of himself, and the deliberate cruelty of that stings more than a screamed insult. There was no note. No dramatic, tear-stained letter. My thumb keeps unlocking my phone, a stupid, reflexive action. I pull up his contact. The picture is still there, a goofy shot I took of him with ice cream on his nose. But when I press call, there's no ring, just an immediate, clinical beep. My messages on Instagram, the ones I sent in a panic, show sent, not delivered. I'm a ghost to him. This isn't the silent treatment after a bad fight. This isn't a dramatic storm out where he comes back in the morning full of regret. This feels different. It feels methodical. Final. Like a procedure has been completed, and I was the last to know I was even on the operating table. He's gone, and I'm just standing here, in the clean, empty half of our life, with no idea how to even start explaining why. August and I were together for 3 years. 3 solid, comfortable, wonderfully predictable years. He was a good man, the kind of quiet, steady presence you can build a life on. He remembered how I took my coffee. He'd listen for hours to my complaints about work, and he had this way of hugging me that made the whole world just stop. But he had this one thing, this absolute, non-negotiable line in the sand: privacy. He hated social media oversharing. He called it performing your life instead of living it. I remember once, early on, I posted a picture of him asleep on the couch, his mouth slightly open, looking utterly peaceful. I thought it was adorable. He didn't yell. He just got this quiet, wounded look in his eyes and asked me, very calmly, to please take it down. "That moment is for you phobes," he'd said, his voice soft. "Not for them. Our relationship was our sanctuary," he'd say, not content for an audience. I always thought it was a bit old-fashioned, but I went along with it. I knew it was his boundary. I just never understood it was load-bearing. Then, 4 months ago, I got a new job at a marketing firm. It wasn't like my old, stuffy office. This place was cool. Exposed brick walls, free kombucha on tap, and a workforce where everyone seemed to be under 30 and effortlessly witty. Lunch breaks weren't for eating. They were an open mic night for personal lives. They'd roast each other, share hilariously awful dating app stories, and mercilessly mock their partner's quirks. It was all done with a veneer of ironic affection, but it was a competition. Who had the funniest, most shareable life? Jenna from accounts would tell a story about her husband's disastrous attempt to build a shelf, complete with photos of the wreckage. It was brutal, but everyone howled with laughter. And at the center of it all was Mason. He was new, like me, but he fit in instantly. He was the conductor of this orchestra of casual cruelty. He wasn't just funny. He was sharp, quick, and he had this way of locking eyes with you when you landed a punchline, giving a little nod of approval that felt like winning a prize. Everyone wanted his attention, and I wanted in. God, it sounds so pathetic saying it now, but I wanted to be part of their inside jokes. I felt like a fraud, and my quiet, stable life with August suddenly felt like an anchor. He didn't have any wild stories. Our weekends were cozy, not crazy. I started to feel a creeping sense of shame. Not shame in August, but shame for him. Shame that my life wasn't a collection of hilarious, shareable anecdotes. I'd come home to Auguste's quiet stability, and instead of feeling grateful, I'd feel bored, restless, like I was missing out on the real show. It all came to a head last Thursday. We were all huddled around the communal table in the office kitchen, the air thick with the smell of microwaved leftovers and performative camaraderie. Mason was holding court, as usual. He was in the middle of a story about how his girlfriend had a complete meltdown because he bought the wrong brand of almond milk. He did a full-blown impression of her, a cruel caricature with a high-pitched, wailing voice and frantic hand gestures. It was a staggering betrayal of her trust, but everyone was in stitches. He was rewarded with a chorus of validating laughter. Then, Jenna from accounts chimed in with a story about her husband crying during a Pixar movie, complete with a reenactment of his blubbering. The energy was electric, a feedback loop of one-upmanship. Who could be the most entertainingly disrespectful to the person they supposedly loved? Then, the spotlight swung to me. "What about you, Phoebe?" Mason asked, a playful smirk on his face, his eyes glinting. "August must have some weird quirks. Don't hold out on us." The air left my lungs. A dozen scenarios flashed through my mind. I could have just laughed and said, "Nah, he's pretty normal," and endured the flicker of disappointment in their eyes, the conversation immediately moving on from the boring girl with the boring boyfriend. The silence stretched, and I felt their collective gaze on me, a physical weight. The desperate, clawing need to be interesting, to be accepted, to get that nod of approval from Mason, overwhelmed everything else. A lie, ugly and fully formed, just slid out of my mouth before I could stop it. "Oh my God, you have no idea," I began, leaning in conspiratorially, my voice a little too loud. "Last weekend, we had this stupid fight about laundry, and he literally got on his knees and begged me not to be mad. Like, full-on puppy dog eyes, clinging to my leg, the whole 9 yards. The table erupted. It was the exact reaction I'd craved. Mason threw his head back and laughed, a loud, barking sound that went straight to my head like cheap wine. "No way," he choked out, wiping a tear from his eye. "You're kidding me, August." Fueled by their laughter, my lies spiraled, growing bigger and more elaborate with each breath. "I'm not," I insisted, feeling a dizzying rush of belonging. "He's like a pathetic little golden retriever sometimes. I swear I have him completely trained." The words tasted like poison even as I said them, a vile, foreign sludge in my mouth, but I couldn't stop. I was performing, and for my grand finale I did the unthinkable. "I've even got proof," I declared, pulling out my phone. The cold glass felt slick in my suddenly sweaty hand. My fingers flew across the screen, a blur of motion. I scrolled to a picture August had sent me a few weeks ago. He was making a goofy, exaggerated sad face at the camera, trying to cheer me up after I'd had a bad day. It was a private, sweet little moment, a digital love note just for me. In seconds, I had it in a meme generator app. I typed, "Please, my queen, forgive me," in a big, clownish font across his vulnerable face. My thumb hovered over the send button for a fraction of a second. A tiny, sane part of my brain screamed at me to stop. I ignored it. I posted it directly into our company's general Slack channel. The immediate explosion of laughing emojis and LMAO messages felt like a standing ovation. For a few glorious, terrible seconds, I was the funniest person in the room. I was one of them. I was a star. I was so high on the validation, so busy soaking in the grins and backpats from Mason that I didn't see it at first. I was replaying my own cleverness in my head, the perfect timing of the punchline, the roar of the crowd. In that moment of pathetic triumph, I had completely, utterly forgotten. August was in that Slack channel. A former colleague had added him to the friends and family group chat a year ago for a company picnic invite, and he just never left. He was a silent name on a long list, a digital ghost I hadn't thought about in months. He never posted, never reacted. He was just there, watching. My phone buzzed in my hand, a sharp, angry vibration against my palm. It wasn't another Slack notification celebrating my wit. It was a private message from August. One single word. "Phoebe." That was it. No anger, no exclamation points, no string of furious emojis. Just my name, followed by a question mark. It wasn't an accusation. It was a sound of pure, unadulterated confusion. Like I was a stranger he was struggling to recognize, a puzzle he couldn't solve. The casual cruelty of my joke hadn't registered as a joke at all. It had registered as a fundamental betrayal of who he thought I was. My blood ran cold. The laughter in the kitchen suddenly sounded harsh and distant, like it was coming from another planet. I looked down at my phone, then back up at the meme I had just birthed into the world. His face. My cruel words, seen by 67 people. And him. Panic, cold and sharp, clawed its way up my throat, choking me. My fingers fumbled as I tried to delete the post, but it was too late. The damage was done. It had been seen, screenshotted, and saved. I scrambled to message him back, my thumbs slipping on the screen. It was a joke, just a stupid joke for my coworkers. Everyone does it here, it's not a big deal. The lies felt thin and pathetic even as I typed them. You know I don't think that. Please don't be mad. Silence. The 3 little dots indicating he was typing appeared, then vanished. Appeared, then vanished again. My heart hammered against my ribs with each ghostly flicker. He was trying to find the words, and the fact that it was taking him so long was more terrifying than any immediate explosion of rage. I sent another barrage of messages, each one more frantic than the last. Augie, please talk to me. It's not what it looks like. I can explain, I'm so sorry. Nothing. The minutes stretched into an eternity. The buzz from my lunchtime performance had evaporated, replaced by a nauseating dread that settled deep in my stomach. Then, after what felt like a lifetime, my phone lit up one last time. A new message from him. It was short and terrifyingly calm, devoid of any emotion at all. I'm coming home tonight to pack my things. Please give me some space. When I walked through the door of our apartment that evening, it was to the scene I described. The surgical, silent removal of a life. My frantic calls had gone straight to voicemail all afternoon, each one a desperate, unanswered scream into the void. He was already gone. The finality of it was a physical blow. There was no room for argument, no chance to plead my case, no dramatic, tearful confrontation. He had simply executed a decision with the cold precision of a terminating contract. The next day at work was a special kind of hell. I was a ghost haunting the hallways, my eyes puffy and raw. I was desperate, running on fumes and the dregs of cold coffee. I finally cornered Mason by the kombucha tap, my voice trembling as I tried to explain. It was just a joke, I pleaded, the words sounding hollow even to my own ears. A stupid performance for you guys. He took it seriously. Could you maybe, I don't know, message him? Tell him it was nothing, that it was all on me? I thought if he, the ringleader, explained the office culture, August might understand. Mason's easygoing smile vanished. It didn't just fade. It was wiped clean, replaced by a look of alarm. He took a physical step back, his hands held up in a gesture of surrender as if I were contagious. Whoa, hey, he said, his voice losing all its earlier warmth. I'm not getting in the middle of that. That's between you two. He gave my shoulder a quick, awkward pat, a gesture devoid of any actual comfort. Hope you guys work it out, he mumbled, his eyes already scanning the room for an escape route. He found one and was gone, leaving me standing there feeling foolish and radioactive. It was the same with everyone else. The people who had been howling with laughter 24 hours earlier now couldn't meet my eyes. Jenna, who had shared intimate details about her husband's insecurities, scurried past me with a muttered sorry deadline, her face a mask of polite panic. Others would see me coming down the hall and abruptly turn into the nearest meeting room or become intensely fascinated by their own shoes. I wasn't a witty insider anymore. I was a problem. I was the girl with the drama. The social currency I had so desperately tried to earn had been spent in an instant, leaving me bankrupt and alone. The awkward distancing was worse than open hostility. It was a quiet, collective judgment. It was the sudden silence when I approached the lunch table, the way conversations would resume in hushed tones the second I was out of earshot. They weren't my friends. They were an audience. And my performance, which had earned me a moment of applause, had ended with a catastrophe they wanted no part of. The very circle I had sacrificed my relationship to join had closed ranks, leaving me on the outside, shivering in the cold. The bitter irony was suffocating. In my desperate attempt to belong somewhere, I had ended up belonging absolutely nowhere at all. On Saturday, my phone buzzed with a name I hadn't expected to see. Olivia. She's one of our few genuine mutual friends, a quiet, kind soul who knew us both well. My heart leaped with a desperate, stupid hope. Maybe she was calling with good news. Maybe August had reached out to her, regretting his decision. Her voice was gentle but strained. "Phoebe," I spoke with August. I held my breath. "And what did he say? Is he okay? Did you tell him I'm a wreck?" The words tumbled out of me. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "He's calm," she said, choosing her words carefully. "That's what's so scary. He wasn't angry." She told me he didn't badmouth me, didn't call me names, didn't even raise his voice. He just sounded tired, resigned. He said something that, "I think you need to hear," Olivia continued, her voice soft with pity. He said, "I can't be with someone who would humiliate me to get a laugh from strangers." That meme, she used a picture I sent her just to make her smile when she was sad. She took something that was ours, something private and trusting, and she turned it into a public joke for people she barely knows. He told me, "This wasn't a mistake, Liv. It was a choice." That last sentence hit me like a physical punch. It was a choice. It sliced through all my pathetic excuses, all my self-serving narratives about office culture, and just a joke. He was right. In that moment, surrounded by those people, I had chosen their fleeting approval over his enduring trust. I had chosen to be a clown in their circus over being a partner in our life. And that choice had cost me everything. So now, here I am, back where I started in the silent apartment. It's been 2 weeks. 2 weeks of waking up and momentarily forgetting, then feeling the weight of the empty space beside me crash down all over again. At work, I'm a pariah. I keep my head down, eat lunch at my desk, and count the minutes until I can go home to this mausoleum. Mason and the others are polite, but distant. The laughter from the kitchen sounds like it's from another world. My nights are the worst. They're a pathetic, predictable ritual of self-torture. I log into a fake Instagram account I made, Wandering Soul7, just so I can look at his profile. He hasn't blocked that one yet. He hasn't posted anything new. He just deleted things. The photo of us in the mountains, the one from my birthday last year, all gone. His page is a curated collection of landscapes and books now, completely devoid of me. It's a quiet, digital amputation. I just stare at his profile picture, that familiar, kind face, now a million miles away behind a screen. I scroll, refresh, hoping for a sign, a clue, anything, but there's nothing. Just a deafening digital silence that mirrors the one in my apartment. I won the momentary applause of a crowd that didn't care about me, and in exchange, I lost the one person who was my standing ovation. I played the clown to an audience that has long since packed up and gone home, leaving me alone on an empty stage with the spotlight shining on the wreckage I made.